Hi, my name is Charles Crinier. This is my blended learning project for the summer of 2019 for secondary mathematics. I will talk about four different aspects. First one will be the definition of a blended learning, specifically at Grandview High School. The second part I will discuss will be the hybrid rotation model that I will implement. The third aspect will be the LMS. The platform that I'm going to use is Canvas. And then the last topic or aspect in this presentation will be for me to summarize everything in this presentation. Well, let's begin. What is blended learning at Grandview High School? Well, blended learning is a term to describe the process of combining online learning tools along with traditional classroom methods. At Grandview, these learning methods are about more than adding a MacBook Air into the classroom or into the students' hands. They're about changing the way both teachers and students approach learning. Well, the hybrid rotation model is the model that I'm going to implement. I will talk about specifically three key learning stations. The first one will be the small group work. The second part will be the whole group discussion. And the third part will be the online learning. And I'm going to summarize the blended learning model using a graphic display. The learning station number one, the small group activity. The launch for the 2 or 3 activities, including grouping students, this will give students the opportunity to work with a partner or in small groups. Each of the activities that I will present during the classroom will be designed for students to work in groups or in pairs. The second learning station will be the whole group discussion. During every activity, there will be a discussion. I will orchestrate some time for students to synthesize what they have learned within the activities. This time is used to ensure that all the students have ample opportunity to understand the mathematical goal of the activity and to situate the new learning within students' previous understanding. The third learning station will include online learning. I will select the different online activities in a game board / path board, and it will include opportunities for differentiation for students, for challenge, or for remediation. Every extension problem is made available to every student. These problems go deeper into the grade level math and often make connections between the topic at hand and other concepts at the grade level. This graphic summarization of the blended learning model looks like this. Students will begin the first activity in a small group setting, and then they will transition into the second station, which will be a whole group discussion. We'll go back to the first station where we will continue the second activity, and again transition to the station 2 for the whole group discussion and to synthesize the material. And we'll do that for the third time. We'll go back and do the third activity, follow that up with a whole group discussion. After about 30 to 45 minutes, the students will then break up into their online learning component, station number 3, and the students will work on a game board. After they complete the several activities and tasks, we'll finish up the class with a whole group discussion at this learning station number 2. Now, the third part in this presentation is the Canvas LMS. The learning management system that I chose was Canvas. Within Canvas, I created one of the units for the course of study in geometry, which is called Rigid Transformations. And I also added some rationale behind using Canvas and using the online learning dynamic. And I kind of pitched it this way, the 5 ways to implement online learning. The Canvas LMS that I'm going to use, I will shortly I'll display the online dynamic, but I have several lessons here. The first one is on sequences of rigid transformations. The second lesson is defining rotations. The third one is defining reflections. I have a fourth and fifth that I did not display, but it's there. So welcome back. This is my LMS for Canvas, and this is in regards to the first unit that I will cover on rigid transformations. I have the lessons presented here with the sequences of rigid transformations, defining rotations, defining reflections, defining translations, and lesson 5, the symmetry. Now within each of the lessons, there's 3 activities that are small group, whole group led. They will work in their individual groups, whether it's groups of 4, whether it's their shoulder partner, or whether it's groups of 3. They will work through each activity followed by a whole group discussion. They'll do the same thing for activity 2 and 3. So I'll show you what activity 1 looks like. They will have 5 minutes to develop some mathematical language in what do they notice and what do they wonder. They will use GeoGebra for the second activity, what's the same, using, again, transformations. I also have a paperback copy for this if needed. The students will work through this for about 10 to 15 minutes, followed by a whole group discussion. And the last activity that they will work on as a group or as a pair is, does order matter? And they will answer the following questions, and it will be followed up by a discussion. After about 30 to 45 minutes with the activities and the whole group discussion, the students will have an opportunity to go into the lesson, the student online playlist. And the student online playlist looks like a game board. They'll have a start and a finish. And each of these boxes has a unique activity for the student. And I will model it right here for you guys. So this is the student online game path board. They will start, and within each of these lessons, or each of these boxes, there's a unique lesson. So the first one, there'll be a lesson cooldown. The students will describe a sequence. They will write it down and submit it to me. The students will move on to the next box, which will be a formative assessment. And this formative assessment is, I'm using Go Formative for this assessment. I have several different types of questions. I have a multiple choice question. I also have students showing your work. I also have a short answer question. And I have a multiple selection for their practice, which should take about 5 to 10 minutes. If the students score 75% on the formative, then they can go ahead and take a slide down to the research component here. If they do not receive a 75%, then they will go into the video, which they'll go to Khan Academy, and they will complete this video. It's about 5 minutes long. The students will then complete Khan Academy's 4-question formative assessment. And then they will walk through the activity, which is the students have to annotate this particular summary of the lesson. And this is pretty fun. The next activity is a You Choose, activating student choice and student voice. The students will either make a Quizlet flashcard, they can create an infographic of the student summary, or they can film a 2-minute video summarization using Flipgrid or Peer Deck or Padlet. And then they'll finish up the game board by a student reflection where they can mark down if they get it or if they do not get it. So I didn't get it, and so forth. And then they will complete the student game board, and then we will complete the course or the class with a whole group discussion. Within the online learning component on station number 3, I've come up with 5 powerful ways to implement online learning. The first one was the self-discovery. The second one was the student drive or the student-driven lessons, which in this case I used the game board. The third thing was the student reflection within the game board. I also used the content delivery and redelivery, and I also used the formative assessment. These 5 components to online learning. Well, as I summarize my blended learning project, I showed you guys the definition of blended learning. I revealed to you the hybrid rotation model, which some of it is a whole group rotation model, also small group rotation model, included an individual rotation model. I also revealed the math workshop model that I was using, which was composed of math activities, whole group discussions, whole class discussions, online learning components. I also mentioned the elements that I used to create a platform of online learning was through Canvas. Covered rigid transformations and 5 ways to implement online learning. And overall, I want to thank you for listening and being a part of this presentation.